I'm Kaylee, and these are the books that I read in March. I had a pretty good reading month in March. I feel like I'm starting to catch up a little bit more with some of my goals. I read 15 books in March. I read 1 children's book, 1 fantasy, 4 middle grade, 2 mysteries, 2 nonfiction, and 5 picture books. Before we dive into all those books, I'm going to reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book, and we're going to shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Sandy Lender. I will leave a link in the description to their channel. Be sure to go over and subscribe to them. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you had a good reading month in March. And of course, follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram and all the places. I've decided to go chronologically with these books based on when I read them, but I will save all of the review copies that I got from publishers for the end. So the first book that I read in March was Griffin's Castle by Jenny Nimmo. I had pretty high expectations of this book because I've really enjoyed a lot of other books by Jenny Nimmo, but I ended up only giving this one 3 stars. It's just not my favorite of her work. I've enjoyed her other writing a lot more. So I'm not sure if it's maybe just because I came into it with really high expectations. In this book, Dinah and her mother move into a dilapidated old house where Dinah discovers a small Griffin statue. Dinah loves the house and she hopes they can stay there forever, but Dinah's mother is not exactly reliable, and the landlord can't stand children. Dinah notices some other animal statues in the city, and she wishes that they could protect her new home. The misty spirit of a lioness statue appears to come to life and follows Dinah home. Dinah can see and feel the lioness when no one else can. Soon more of the animal statues begin following Dinah home, and they become so real that others can feel their presence as well. But Dinah's friends at school are worried about her. Are the animal statue spirits really protecting her home? Or are they imprisoning Dinah within those walls? I really liked how the real and the mystical are kind of blended in this story. And there are some very deep themes that are explored in this book. Dinah is searching for a permanent living situation where she can feel safe. And she looks to her family heritage for the stability that her mother can't provide. The animals end up being kind of like the embodiment of her fears and her desires. But when those things get out of control, they lead her down dangerous paths. Dinah has dealt with some very difficult times in and out of foster care when her mother was unable to care for her. Even when she is with her mother, they bounce around between homes, staying with friends, sleeping in shelters. And Dinah has had some really terrible experiences. One of them is an awful memory of when she was babysitting a friend's baby. They lived in this broken down apartment with broken windows and no heating, and the baby died from hunger and cold while all the adults were gone and Dinah was alone. These scenes are just heartbreaking and disturbing. But I do really love this author's writing style. This was a very emotional story and very well written. But I guess I just came into it with kind of my own expectations of what this was going to be, and then it wasn't that. So then I just didn't really enjoy it that much. Then I read The League of Seven by Alan Gratz. Archie's parents are part of the Septemberist Society, a secret organization that is tasked with keeping these huge monsters locked up. But when the Swarm Queen monster begins to awaken out of her prison, Archie's parents are kidnapped and brainwashed to release the monster. Archie and his robot servant have to unravel the secrets of this ancient civilization that imprisoned all the monsters in the first place. And along the way, Archie befriends 2 other children who are also searching for answers and revenge. I really love the imaginative setting of this book, and I appreciated that there is a cool map of all the different nations and tribes and states. Electricity is forbidden in this world because the monsters feed on it and become more powerful, and so everything is steam powered. It's like this weird alternate history for North America. It's very different, really imaginative and fun. And I liked the characters very much. They're all really complex and diverse. Through the story, Archie begins to question his personal identity, and that throws the team into chaos. They all have to deal with these conflicting emotions and try to stay on track with their mission to stop the Swarm Queen. The plot moves along pretty quickly with a lot of different battles and adventures. And there's a lot of intrigue and secrets and mysteries that I enjoyed reading about. The writing style is good. It really brings you into the story, but I found myself kind of skimming through some of the descriptions. I felt like it was just taking too long. Certainly when you're building this imaginative world, you need to describe that world and describe the characters, but I felt like that could have been done more quickly. It could have been condensed a little bit. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I read The Maze in the Heart of the Castle by Dorothy Gilman, and I've already done another separate review video of that one because I just had a lot of things to say about The Maze in the Heart of the Castle. So be sure to go over and watch that video because this was just a very important book in my life, you know? This was one that had a huge emotional impact on me. Then I listened to the audiobook of Jane and the 12 Days of Christmas. This is the 12th book in the Jane Austen mystery series, where Jane Austen is, you know, a character in the story. And the story does follow real places that she went and people she knew and real things that she said, but she's also solving a murder mystery. In this book, Jane, Cassandra, and their mother, Mrs. Austen, are visiting their old country parsonage where Jane's brother, James, is now residing. They visit the Chute family at their estate for the Christmas festivities, but a military messenger is found dead, thrown from his horse. Jane thinks it must be murder, and one of the other guests, an artist, agrees with her. The best part about this story was learning about all of the Regency traditional Christmas games, their food and parties, and other little family habits at Christmas time. I really love that there's a lot of real history that is woven into these stories about Jane and her family and their neighbors and people they knew. But of course, the murder mystery and Jane's involvement are completely fictional. In this book, I really enjoyed seeing more of Jane's brother, James, and their sibling relationship, as well as James's wife, Mary. Apparently, the two of them, they just did not have very pleasant personalities. But they do make an effort to be together for Christmas. It's really interesting to imagine what their family must have been like and how they would have interacted together, how they might have talked with one another. And of course, I especially like the scenes with Jane and her sister Cassandra. The murder mystery itself is good. I kind of guessed the ending, or at least part of the ending, so it wasn't as good as some of the other mysteries in this series. But I do love the writing style and the way the story just immerses you in that Regency history. I gave it 4 stars. I also read The Music of Dolphins by Karen Hess. Mila is a wild girl who has grown up on a deserted island with a family of dolphins. When she is rescued, she is placed with a doctor who studies the way that humans learn language. And the doctor hopes to learn the girl's dolphin language. And they try to use music to sort of capture the sounds that dolphins make. Mila begins to connect with her human caregivers and even their families. Even the janitor cannot help connecting with this wild girl. At first, Mila is interested to learn English and learn how humans interact and live. But soon she begins to miss her dolphin family and the simplicity of her life on the island. Her spirit starts to despair and turn inward, searching for the music that she used to know. This was definitely an interesting book with a very unique voice. Mila's narration starts out very simple and it grows more complex as she learns to communicate more as a human. But the very simplicity of her words brings forward this stark honesty. Nothing is hidden behind fancy words. Everything is sincere and true for Mila, and those around her are forced to face the truth as well. The writing is just genius in its extreme simplicity. I really like that Mila's situation brings up a lot of philosophical questions about humans and how we live. Just how human societies function and what we value and how we live with one another, how we treat each other, how we behave. It was interesting to see the other humans trying to explain these things to Mila, but they end up looking foolish as she cuts right to the truth with her clear logic. I don't know that I could say that it's like my favorite book ever or anything, but it was really interesting and it really made me think, and I gave it 4 stars. I read Aunt Dimity and the Family Tree. This is book number 16 in the Aunt Dimity series by Nancy Atherton. In this series, Aunt Dimity is a ghost, and she communicates with her goddaughter, Lori, through a journal where she writes to Lori in the journal from the beyond. It's hilarious and adorable, and I love it. So in this book, Lori's father-in-law, William, has just moved into his newly renovated ancient house where he discovers an old painting. He sends it to be restored, and a family tree is discovered hiding under years of grime. However, the painting is stolen before any of the names can be read. Meanwhile, Lori's neighbor, Sally Pine, is in desperate need of help, and she turns to William, hoping to rely on his expertise as a lawyer to help her out of quite a pickle. But then the whole family gets involved in helping Sally to lie to the entire village. Lori is also very suspicious of William's new housekeeper and groundskeeper. Could they be hiding something nefarious? Lori will need Aunt Dimity's wisdom every step of the way. I really enjoyed this book. I have not read an Aunt Dimity book in quite some time, and it was so fun to dive back into this series. I especially love the history that is unlocked in the plot. We get to learn more about the little village of Finch. The plot has a lot of little details that make it very fun and engaging. And of course, I still love Lori's delightfully stubborn character. The writing is just good and clear and funny, and the characters are adorable and complex. This book in particular has some really emotional scenes dealing with family connections and what it's like to fall in love. We get to see these characters comforting one another and encouraging one another in a really sweet way. It's not all fluff all the time with Aunt Dimity. There is a really good balance between more serious subjects, more meaningful themes, and just the general hilarity. I gave this one 4 stars. I also finally finished reading through Harry Potter y la Piedra Filosofal. So I'm reading through the Harry Potter series in Spanish and finally got through the first book. I don't know why it took me so long, but I really enjoyed rereading this favorite book in Spanish. I think it's really helping me to expand my Spanish vocabulary, and it's just fun reading Harry Potter again. The rest of the books in this video are books that I received for free from a publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. I got this beautiful, beautiful edition of The Wind in the Willows, abridged by Lou Peacock for younger readers. The story is condensed and simplified for ages maybe 6 to 9, but it still captures the charm of the original and has most of the main plot points. The artwork is really lovely. I just loved the cute designs for all the creatures and the pretty landscapes in the background, all around the river and the forest. Every page is just full of warmth and fun. This would be really great for young readers who are just starting to read chapter books on their own, so they aren't quite ready for the full text of Wind in the Willows. The editor did a really great job abridging the story, but still keeping the charm and grace of the original. I gave this 5 stars. And I read A History of the World in 25 Cities. So this book goes through history, giving information about different cities around the world. We start with Jericho and we end up in Tokyo. My favorite was Tenochtitlan because I used to live in Mexico City and I visited the museums and the ruins of Tenochtitlan many times. I gave this book 4 stars, really informative and fun. And I also read Transported, 50 Vehicles That Changed the World. So this includes boats and cars and planes and motorcycles and chariots and wagons and rockets and bicycles. It's really amazing to see how history has changed over the centuries, and especially just in the last 100 years because of mankind's ability to travel efficiently and quickly. It has beautiful illustrations and very informative and fun. And I read a few picture books that I really enjoyed, and then I was able to share these with my nieces, and they loved them. One in particular that they have asked me to read over and over and over again is Hen in the Bed, and I think they enjoy it because we get to sing along with the book. And then I had a book that the girls were able to give as a gift to their grandmother. It's When I Became Your Grandma. And I can tell you right now, there were tears. There were grandma tears of joy when they read the book together. So that one was really adorable and meaningful. And those are all the books that I read, I think. Is that everything? Did I get them all? Those are all the books that I read in March. Please leave me a comment and let me know what are some of your favorite books that you've been reading recently. Please do subscribe. Thanks for watching. And remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.